Position.
Yes,
Oh,
you know where I'm going. And
I fixed it. You're welcome.
Thank you,
thank
Shay.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Shafe, man. It was just a click of the button, man. I told you.
Robert,
Yeah.
you let a guy way older than you come in and fix that thing. The young people are supposed to show us the way on this stuff. And Shay
Yeah.
comes in there, presses one button, and just
Wait.
struts out.
Hey, man, I don't know if you don't be hanging around, man. You don't know how to push them buttons back there to fix all this stuff for us old people, man.
I'm so disappointed in our younger generation at this
I
moment.
am too right now.
I'm an old soul. What can I say?
You're old soul? Okay. All right, cool.
I'm impressed by Shay stepping
People
in.
used to say that to me when I was young, too.
I just
You're
took his
an old
cigarettes.
soul.
No, he'll focus now. Him and Kirby. You got him there.
Oh, man. But someone's soul who is really hurt right now is not only the UT basketball team and the fans, but Mr. Ziegler, my man Zig.
All right.
Man.
Tell me what you saw.
ACL tear.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I'm speaking on what I think happened. Let me
Right.
clarify that. Anybody who just ran off the road. But
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I will tell you that right now, but I like to predict what has actually happened to him. And the only reason why I say that is because he planted his foot and then it tweaked inside and it's either partially torn, which doesn't matter. You still have to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Or fully torn. So I would say that's it. I'm hoping I am wrong with Ziegler, but if I was going to make a guess, and I've made, I'm probably batting about 85, 90% on NFL players, that's where I would put that one there, man. Unfortunately, and guard play is big in the tournament, NCAA tournament, and, so it's going to be interesting to see who fills that role. So they'll have time, especially in the SEC tournament here at the end of the season, to see who can. Maybe they do it by committee, but they have the pieces to try to do that. Key has to come back at some point when his ankle settles down. But hey, they played great and played great defense and led them to a huge win over Arkansas. So yeah, they outscored Arkansas, I think, in the paint 42-18, which is dominating. They shot 50% of the field from the field throughout the entire game. That's including with the 3-pointers.
Yep.
So that was huge, even though they didn't shoot very well from 3-point line. So it was a big time win and domination, really. I always thought Arkansas was going to go on a run, but they just couldn't quite get there. They needed some help down in the post to get some post play to free up some guys. But you got Phillips who returned, who looked solid. I mean, for his first game back, and James is naturally could contribute, but all around just a great team effort. And it looked like you just hate it because now Ziegler's out. Now you feel like the team is getting right where it needs to be to kind of shoot up and take it to the next level. So this is an adjustment. If something like this is going to happen, you want to, maybe in the middle of the season, you kind of figure it all out. Do they play the young kid a little bit more, Edwards off the bench? At point of probably not, especially with going into the tournament. So they're going to kind of Vescovy or James, all the guys have skill sets where they can be, handling the ball a lot. But man, Ziegler was huge with. I think he led the SEC in assist, the entire SEC. So that's wow.
That sounds right. Yeah.
So that one's going to sting a little bit.
They get a lot longer on defense.
They
obviously
do
without him.
But his quickness though would create steals too. So
yeah,
I think
does.
it's a even. But maybe you even what's the guy's name? Meshack. And maybe he kind of is point man. You know what? Meshack is an NBA player, talent. Now I'm gonna say talent. Now until he gets his 3-point shot consistent, because that's all the stuff. He goes to the rack and he is a heck of an athlete. Boy, he's a bulldog in his defensive intensity. So maybe he's the guy that kind of handles it a little bit more. And he can shoot the three. It's just he doesn't shoot it as much and it's not as consistent. But I don't know. I like what I see out of him, especially when he was going against Kentucky. Woo. Even though they lost that game.
Well, I'll be interested to see. There are times when an injury just decimates a team and they can't figure out how to fill that void, and people can't just get over what they've seen. Other times, an injury to a key player will sort of galvanize.
Yeah, I would say it's going to happen, and you saw it happen there. I think a lot of guys were kind of shell shocked, but they kept it moving, and the way this team is built and their team camaraderie and how they play as a team, I think it's just a minor adjustment. I hate to say it like that, but I think they're going to find a way. This team is resilient like that, and we saw it in game. So hopefully that does happen. But you had a great point there, Mickey. Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't think it's gonna. It may hurt their depth, but I don't think too many guys can handle the ball. I just think it's not gonna be as bad, and they share the ball. So yeah, it's unfortunate though, man. He was kind of the guy I really like watching because he was kind of that overachieving guy, whether he did good or bad. I thought he was the guy that kind of really stirred everything up for everybody. And he was, man, dang. I just, man, he was out of bounds coming back in. I mean, man, it just felt like it shouldn't have happened, but it did.
When I saw it happen, like he drives under the goal. For people, if you haven't seen it, he drives from one side of the court to underneath the goal, and he is trying not to go out of bounds, and he's doing a thing where he's hopping on one leg, like you see everybody do. And usually what happens is you bounce over on your ankle, and it looks like the end of the world, and then they go and look at you, and you're okay, and maybe your ankle's a little kinked up for a couple. Right. But like you said, this didn't look like ankle. The way everything.
Yeah, that knee came in, Nikki. It said geek, geek, and that's usually tear. And the way he was reacting, like, not just when he failed, but I'm talking about when they were carrying him off.
And they
because
know
it can scare you. You can react.
Yeah.
That's one deal as an athlete. But then there's another now when you're going off the court, this is not good.
Yeah.
And he knew it. Yeah, that's why I think it's that. I think it's torn. Yeah, because I get it. I've been scared before, and then you go, okay, now settle down. It's just going to be a serious sprain or, whatever, maybe second-degree sprain on my knee or ankle. And then, you relax. Then you relax and realize this one here this is different. Yeah.
Emmett said they dominated Arkansas. They did. They beat them by 18. This is coming off beating South Carolina by 40.
Yeah. Yeah, 75-57, right? It was final score.
75-57. And I'm kind of like
Senior night, too. Senior night, which was huge.
Which made everything even more sad.
Yeah, exactly.
If Vescovi kind of finds his right space, he is so versatile, and there's so many things he can do. If he's hitting shots, to me, that's such a huge thing for them because he seems like a calming influence on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he doesn't, but to you, but he does to me. Like when he's playing well, it seems like it puts everybody else at ease to me.
Well, I think when you're seeing him play well, I think it's because he's at the 2, not at the point. So
right.
then,
so do you think how tempted will they be to be like?
That's why I think it's going to be by committee.
Okay,
he may start there.
Yeah,
and no doubt about it. But I think for him to get to his comfort level, I think is playing off ball and being a sharpshooter, taking it to the rack. I think that's, instead of being a facilitator. He can facilitate, don't get me wrong, but like now saying that's your duty, I just that's why I want it by committee because I don't want him to take away from that because there's a different mindset when you're the point guard to the shooting guard and scoring guard, and it could take away a little bit, and they need the scoring because that's where they've always kind of come up a little short. It never. I'm with you, Mickey. I think it will galvanize them, and I think they're gonna come together and may perform better on offense. I'm hoping that happens because I think typically when a really good player gets hurt, you kind of come together, especially in that moment. Now let's see if they can carry that over and do it back-to-back games.
They got at Auburn as the last one.
Well, I mean, then you got the SEC tournament, which will then be back-to-back, where they get the bye, hopefully, and then the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, which the SEC tournament is next week. So let's not forget, I think it starts a week from today. Right around the corner, right around the bend.
It's a stone right down the street.
Yep, at the Bridgestone.
Yeah, they Vols are 4th. In the standings right now.
Ooh, they got to stay at 4, don't they?
2 games ahead of Missouri and 2 games ahead of Auburn. So, one to go there. Maybe have they clinched 4, Robert? Clinched and double bye? I got Robert in there just scrambling. He's wearing an orange T-shirt today, so I'm just
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
With 1 game left, yeah.
I don't have an update on that, but another senior night bad hand that was dealt. Did you guys see what happened at the halftime of the Louisville senior night game?
Yeah, dog pooped on the floor trying to catch Frisbees.
He took my
You ever seen the Frisbee dogs?
Oh, I definitely seen
Robert,
the Frisbee
I should have said I didn't see it.
No, man, this sounds horrible.
The dog was like, hey, man, A, I'm done chasing the Frisbee, and B, number 2.
The biggest turd for Louisville since Patino.
Somebody tweeted, who I guess is a Louisville fan, this fully encapsulates our season.
Well, watch this. Who came and got it up?
That's a good question.
And how did they?
I would imagine it'd be one of them
facilitate
little kids they keep there to like sweep up the wet spots. I would have
No,
just
I'd
made
be
one of them
like,
little kids
hey,
get out
dog
there.
wrangler, because we had those guys at Arkansas State. That's a pretty
that?
standard
Did they have
thing.
those dog bags, to pick up poop?
You know, those dogs wear sneakers.
They had on sneakers in this game?
They
at
wear
halftime?
They wear dog shoes.
No.
Stop
Did
it.
you see
No.
that? Robert looks puzzled.
No.
You didn't see that.
I did
you?
not. Anytime
You-
I've tried to put shoes on any animal, they always do that funny walk where they like throw
Yeah.
their legs.
Yeah,
These
my
dogs
dog.
are
I tried to
highly
do that
trained
one time. My
athletes.
dog does not like that on his feet. He's like, "What the heck is this, bro?"
These are
He
highly
was
trained
walking
athletes.
funny, like it's almost like putting heels on a man. That's how my dog was walking. Like he don't know how to walk in them. He's like, "This is not right." Yeah, my wife gonna buy my dog some shoes for the winter time. I said, he got shoes on, those paws. They call paws. He don't need no shoes, honey. She's like, yeah, he does. His feet are cold. I said, no, we just gotta make sure you just wipe them off when he come back in. But anyway, as far as the dog poop, I bring it up because whenever I'm walking around my neighborhood, we have the trash bags where you pick up the dog's poop randomly in the neighborhood, and you have to pick up the poop. So whenever I walk my dog, which is every single day, I have to pick up his poop.
Hey,
If he poops when I'm walking him.
speaking of poop, if my cross the street neighbors happen to be listening, stop letting your dog poop in my yard.
That's the worst.
They don't.
And
they
I'll
just
be
let him
up there
out.
picking out my thing. Let me see who's pooping. My neighbor did this. I thought it was weird. I went and knocked on his door and I said, hey, listen to this story. Speaking of poop. I said, hey.
Oh, you
no,
knocked on the
this is
door.
good for my neighbor, though.
Okay.
Somebody kept pooping. Some dog. Some dog kept pooping, and they weren't picking up the poop. And so here's what I saw out my
Pick up the
window.
poop, people.
I was like, I'm walking my dog, and I was like, why is there 5 bags of poop in a row in front of my neighbor's house? So I go knock on the door and say, hey, man, do you know there's 5 bags of people's poop, right? Kind of like segmented apart. He said, yeah, I did that. I said, well, why did you do that? He said, because people keep leaving their own dog's poop in front of our yard. I said, uh-oh.
Oh, he's chess, not checkers.
Yep.
Poop
mhm.
chess,
Yep.
not poop checkers.
He said, I'm letting them know. Stop that. I was like, whoa. I thought I was being a good Samaritan. Say, hey, you have a whole bunch of bags of poop. He said, I know. I put them there because I picked up the people's poop and tied it up right there, and I want them to know you need to start picking up your dog's poop. I like, whoa. And I am a stickler. As much as it pains me, I pick up my dog poop everywhere. If he poops anywhere he poops in the neighborhood.
Do you want to know where H-Town Mickey was born? Not in Houston.
A dog pooping?
Yep.
How did we get up to
When
dog?
we moved-
John, we're talking about halftime a dog pooped on the court.
When we moved to Arkansas,
Oh,
we've
my
been here
gosh.
13 years. Then we moved back. Buy this house, corner lot. Dude with just Sasquatch-sized dog.
Sasquatch.
I'm out in the yard, and I'm like trying to like trim some hedges or something. This Sasquatch-sized dog goes right on the corner, right in my yard, like 6 pounds of it.
And they didn't pick up
And this
6
guy,
pounds.
and this guy's just kind of like waved at me. He starts walking. I go, "Hey, bro, hey, you forget something?"
He said, nah, bro. See you when I see you.
And he goes, "Excuse me?" And I said, "I didn't ask for a load of fertilizer to get delivered today, man. You're going to have to take that with you. You want me to go get you a bag?" And the guy's like, "Why are you talking to me like this?" I said, "Why is your dog crapping in my yard and you're walking off without picking it up?" And the guy's like, "Do you have a problem?" I go, "I think it's pretty obvious that I do." I said, "I'm going to tell you what. We'll go with a couple."
No, Mickey, boy.
I said, "I'm going to go with a couple of different options here for you." I said, "Number one, I can get my shovel out of the garage. I can shovel it, follow you home, and drop it in your yard. B, I can get you a bag, and you can sack it up and take it with you. That's it. There's no third option." And the guy's like, "I guess I'll take the bag." I said, "Hold up right there, amigo." So I went and got him a
Amigo.
Kroger sack friend.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to show him I was still his friend. I went and got that dude a Kroger shopping bag, and I watched him bag it up and take it with him. And he was mumbling about me on the way, like down the street. I said,
Yeah.
"Keep mumbling, dude. I'll bring some poop to your house."
Dang, that's how H-Town Mickey got started.
I was furious. My daughter was little. We had a little dog who who may not have like gotten into other dogs' poop occasionally. All right.
Well, we
Robert
got
says-
pooped on too because we went over. Way over.
That's all right. All right, here's what we'll do. We'll
That's
come
what he
back.
said.
We'll shift from poop. We'll go. We'll go to some combine news, and then Jimmy Hyams is going to join us right about 1:30. We'll get the latest on Zakai Ziegler and the investigation in Knoxville with the NCAA, and there's stuff going on. So sack up your poop, and we'll be right back.
Yeah.
"40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind:
We'll be right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
to sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
Is it already that time of year again? We're making resolutions we hopefully can keep. Thanks to the folks at Cool Ray. They make taking care of your home's resolutions easy. Maybe it's to keep the heat on. That's a pretty important goal. And Cool Ray will help take care of that with a $49 winter tune-up. And much like how the holiday treats have us needing to get back in shape, maybe your home's heating system needs a complete revamp too. That's no problem either. Cool Ray's entering the new year stocked up and ready with furnaces on hand, ready for the next day installation. Plus, they still boast a lifetime parts and labor warranty on new Carrier home comfort systems, including $0 in repair costs for the life of your system. And if your home truly is good to go, Cool Ray is even looking out for your personal resolutions too. So browse the coolray.com/careers page and kickstart your career with their industry-leading benefits and work-life balance. Spots are open for the HVAC service technicians, installers, plumbers, and electricians. So schedule your next visit or browse their career opportunities at coolray.com. No phone call, no wait, no worries. You pick the date and time that works for you. That's coolray.com.
Having a good time here on Blaine and Mickey.
Yeah, the dude from Texas.
Hey, bag up your dog, dude. Just a little lesson from us today. We got a little sidetracked in the first segment.
Oh, man, poop.
It is the season of lies and the season of craziness, and then this kind of takes the cake. So Jalen Carter, the Georgia defensive tackle, who blames, we were sitting in the break. He's like, "Remember that guy just picked up Hendon Hooker like he was a child this year? Like, this is a man child."
I think that was him, yeah.
He was set to speak today. I mean, he's getting all of his attention at the combine, and then the news broke. He has a warrant out for his arrest for his alleged role in the car crash that killed a teammate and a recruiting staffer in January in Georgia. This is right after the national championship game. He will be charged, multiple outlets reporting he will be charged with reckless driving and racing, which are both misdemeanors. Again, he was set to meet with the media today in Indy. Like, he's Daniel Jeremiah, who's one of the draft guys for NFL.com.
Yeah,
that's his number one prospect, is this guy. Not anybody else. Not right. This guy's number one prospect.
Oh, I'm not surprised by that at all. Yeah, he's got super talented.
So this is a statement from Jalen Carter. This morning I received a telephone call from the Athens, Georgia Police Department informing me that 2 misdemeanor warrants had been issued against me for reckless driving and racing. Numerous media reports also have circulated this morning containing inaccurate information concerning the tragic events of January 15, 2023. It's my intention to return to Athens to answer the misdemeanor charges against me and to make certain that the complete and accurate truth is presented. There is no question in my mind that when all of the facts are known, I will be fully exonerated of any criminal wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm. So let's be clear, because he wasn't driving the vehicle of the people who passed away, which is a tragic event there. But he was drag racing in another car against them. I'm just trying to make sure I understand what's going on here, because when I read it, I was like, well, why did it take so long? And then Robert's telling us they didn't even pull him over and do any breathalyzer or anything. So they have, this is it's a crazy situation here. So I don't know. I mean, besides him racing, which you said is a misdemeanor.
Both of these things are said to be misdemeanors.
So I'm not a lawyer, but wow, man, he could naturally we are gonna, unfortunately, you're talking about will he get convicted and all those things in this horrific event, but on the other side of that, if he doesn't get exonerated, he could definitely slide down the draft. So it may not even get drafted just because people want to stay away from all that smoke, all that negative energy there with that horrific event. So yeah, that's man. Oh man. Jeez. Stop. Man, what's the thing about drag racing, man? Is that a big thing in Georgia? Remember Isaiah Panda wasn't he doing donuts here?
Supposedly doing donuts in his car, maybe in an intersection or something like that.
Hey, man. Oh, man, when I was a young buck, I was scared.
This was 2:30 in the morning.
Oh.
Yeah, 2:30 in the morning. This is from NFL.com. Police say their investigation found that Carter and Chandler LaCroix, that was a young man who passed away, and a Georgia recruiting analyst, were each operating vehicles in the manner consistent with racing after leaving downtown Athens at around 2:30 a.m., with evidence demonstrating that their cars were switching lanes, driving in the center turn lane and in opposite lanes of travel, overtaking other motorists and driving at a high rate of speed. And at 2:45, the Ford Expedition, which was driven by the young man who crashed, it says it left the roadway and hit 2 power poles and several trees. So
I know it's irrelevant, but did he stop and go back? We don't know any details.
No, that's not listed anywhere. Now, there was a toxicology report on the young man who died, but there's nothing in here about did he go back or did he.
That's just painful. It's painful for me. Just man, the parents and family. Oh my gosh. Woo. Yeah. Deep breath.
Yeah, completely unnecessary. None of this had to happen. None of it had to happen. So,
man.
Slow down out there. I know when you're young, you think I'm gonna live forever and I'm invincible, but we would ask just slow down. Just slow down. No reason to have stuff like tragedies like this happen that didn't have to happen. JimmyHyams, I see the phone is ringing, and Robert is trying to get him. Obviously, big story today with Zakai Ziegler, knee injury during the game last night. They still just beat the tar out of Arkansas during the course of the game and have won 2 straight. Have we got Jimmy, Robert? Jimmy Hyams joins us now. Jimmy, last night was kind of an interesting thing. You got all the emotions of senior night, which I worked in college athletics. I was always a mess on every senior night. And then you beat Arkansas, who's a good team, but you lose Zakai Ziegler in the process. So it was a roller coaster of emotions for everybody involved.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of a weird night. So you're honoring the seniors, and 3 minutes in, your point guard goes down. And your backup point guard, basically Tyreek Key, is out with an ankle injury.
Yeah.
So first off, Ziegler stayed on the court for a long time, which indicated it was a serious injury. And then when the players got in the huddle, they said it was very quiet. Well, I wrote this, and then some players backed it up, that Tennessee went into that game refusing to lose because of the seniors, and then they refused to lose because they were playing for Zakai Ziegler, who's one of the most popular players on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So Tennessee went with point guard by committee, and they actually used Josiah Jordan-James at the point for one of the few times since he was a freshman, Vescovy, who has played the point off and on, and then Jemai Mashak, who'd never played the point at Tennessee but played point guard in high school. And so they got away with it and beat Arkansas by 18 points. I fully expect that Ziegler's going to be out for the season. Yeah. I've heard a variety of reports on what the knee injury is, but I don't expect him to return. But that's not official. Tennessee told me they would announce something later today.
Jimmy Hyams, the great Jimmy Hyams, at Jimmy Hyams on Twitter. Sports Talk is the name of the show. WNML Radio in Knoxville is where the magic happens.
Well, Jimmy, naturally, after Ziegler got hurt, galvanized the team and they kind of moved forward, and it seemed like, they were adjusting on the fly and didn't really happen. Anything negative happened as far as their play. Now, moving forward, who do you think, or what by committee, will it affect the team, or will they be able to adjust coming down here in the stretch with the SEC tournament and NCAA tournament right around the corner?
Blaine, I think it's going to hurt the team. I don't know how you lose somebody that's leading the SEC in assists in SEC games only, that ranks up there in steals. It was interesting. Jemai Mashak said that they'll miss his points and his assists, but the most they will miss is his energy. And Mashak said that's where I got to pick it up, provide more energy. I thought Tennessee played with great energy last night. I thought they hustled. I thought they were quick to the ball, quicker than Arkansas. They played tremendous defense. They had 8 offensive rebounds in the first half. They had 11 steals in the game. I thought they really got after it the whole game and played really well. Now, there'll be times, though, when you need a point guard to set things up, to make a key steal, to make a key basket, and that's where they're going to miss Zakai Ziegler. Tyreek Key is okay in that role as a point guard. He really came to Tennessee as a scoring guard, as a shooting guard. Right. But he's tried to transition to the role of the point guard. But there'll be games where they miss him. There'll be stretches during games where they miss him. But I give him a lot of credit for beating Arkansas, but I think there'll be times when you watch Tennessee play Auburn this weekend, and you're going to think, boy, Zakai Ziegler could have helped him right there.
Well, give me, I guess, your knowledge of watching the game. Who do you think will fulfill that role?
The primary guy is going to be Vescovy.
Vescovy, okay.
And the number 2 guy to that's going to be Josiah Jordan-James. And then I think the third guy will be Mashak. Rick Barnes even said afterward, if Ziegler doesn't return, it'll be point guard by committee. But I would say Vescovy number 1, then James will share that. Now, I'll say this. If they get Tyreek Key back, and he's expected to be back, then you will probably see Vescovy and Key at the point, and then Mashak, and James probably not playing the point at all.
Okay, and then how did you think Phillips, who I don't know if that was a surprise to you, but it wasn't to me just to see him out there, and then it seemed as though, like he was fairly healthy and moving around pretty good.
He did move around pretty good. He'd been out 4 games with a hip flexor, and there were some rumblings. I was aware that there was a pretty good chance he would play. He's playing okay. To be honest with you, I thought the 5-star rating and how good he was early in the year, he had a terrific game against, I think it was against Southern Cal. I expected more from him. I thought he'd be more productive than he has been. I don't know all the things that are holding him back, but he's not been the force on offense that I thought he would be. He's a nice player, but he's not. He doesn't score at the level that I kind of thought he would after his great start. So, but he's a good player, and certainly he's a piece of the puzzle that Tennessee needs. If they could get him to play at a higher level, and if James can play at the level that he did against South Carolina, this team's pretty dangerous even without Ziegler.
Well, I guess lastly then, what do you expect from them playing Auburn, I guess, in the last game?
It's hard to beat Auburn, when their back's against the wall. Bruce Pearl, he wants to beat Tennessee worse than any other team in the league. It's going to be their senior night. That's going to be a hard ask for Tennessee. I'll say that Tennessee shot 50% against a good Arkansas team. If Tennessee can shoot in that range, 50%, they can beat Auburn. Because I'm confident the defense is going to be there. But that's going to be a hard ask to get. Look, Auburn is not just playing for SEC tournament seeding. They're playing to get in the NCAA tournament. They have played their way down to the bubble. And if they're not careful, if they lose to Tennessee and lose the first round of the SEC tournament, I don't think they make the NCAA tournament. So this will be a hungry Auburn team that Tennessee faces.
Tennessee has got locked, I guess, the 4th seed, right, for the double bye?
No, they haven't locked it. If Tennessee loses to Auburn and Missouri wins their next 2 games, they play tonight and then they play on Saturday, they would then tie, and then Missouri gets the tiebreaker based on the head-to-head victory over Tennessee.
Got you on with Jimmy Hyams with all the knowledge, Sports Talk Radio at WNML in Knoxville.
Jimmy, what did you make of the information dropped by the NCAA this week? Did anything stand out with you? 4 guys have gotten their show causes, but no news yet on Ansley or Pruitt or actually the University of Tennessee itself and what will happen to them.
I didn't know all the details that would be released, but I was consistently told that the hang-up was when you have a case like this, to resolve it, all parties have to agree. So when I kept getting asked, well, why haven't they reached a resolution? It's because all parties haven't agreed. And we found out now that Tennessee has not agreed to be held accountable for failure to monitor. So they're not agreeing to that. Jeremy Pruitt's not agreeing to much anything. And then Derek Ansley is disagreeing with the punishment that they've issued for him, and then 2 other staff members. So I don't know when the Committee on Infractions will meet to hear all these cases. I don't know if they'll try to do them simultaneously or at different times. The other thing about Tennessee, not only are they fighting the failure to monitor, but I have been told that the NCAA wanted to impart more scholarship reductions, and Tennessee's fighting that. Tennessee feels like they've already had scholarship reductions that were sufficient. It was like 12 the first year, 4 the next year, and I think they feel like they should be through with that phase. So I wasn't surprised that Pruitt and Tennessee were in disagreement on accepting the penalty. I wasn't sure, though, about Derek Ansley and Bethany Gunn and Chantrice Boone.
You got a gut feeling on what's going to come out of this for University of Tennessee? This has been going on forever, and it always gets cited how cooperative they've been, Jimmy, but then here we are still not settled on this thing.
Yeah, see, and that's the argument from Tennessee. They're like, hey, this is a test case for how you cooperate, and now you're still giving us a punishment for failure to monitor? So I'll say this. I may be wrong. I think Tennessee is going to end up winning this. I think they're going to drop the failure to monitor, and I think Tennessee is going to continue to argue, why should we cooperate and do all this stuff if you're going to hit us with this? This is not just a Tennessee issue. What other schools who want to cooperate if the NCAA nails them? So I think Tennessee ultimately is going to win this. I don't think they're going to have scholarship. If they have scholarship reductions or visit reductions, they'll be minimum. So I think they're going to come out okay, but I think Tennessee's going to win that. I don't think Pruitt's going to win his situation. I think they got the goods on him. Too many people have testified against him. And so I think he's going to – now, I don't know about Ansley. I'm not sure, but I don't think Ansley wants to coach in college anyway. I think he's fine to stay in the NFL.
Jimmy Hyams, our guest, at JimmyHyams on Twitter, WNML Radio.
Well, Jimmy, with this news, it seems like it hasn't impacted their recruiting, but has it? I mean, you're close to the program more than anybody. I mean, has it affected them at all? I'm sure schools are using it against them, but it seems like they've kind of moved forward and kind of got past it, at least in recruiting. I may be wrong on that. What do you think?
No, I think you're right. I don't think it has hurt Tennessee in recruiting. The first year, there was some speculation that hurt them because there was the cloud over the program. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that hurt Tennessee recruiting the first year was that they had not been able to build relationships with a lot of these in-state players or other players that might have been interested in Tennessee. So regardless of the NCAA situation, I think that hurt. Once these coaches develop relationships with in-state players, we saw what happened. Once they develop relationships with other players, we saw what happened. They got a 5-star quarterback out of California thanks to NIL. So I thought they had a really good recruiting class. I thought on defense they did a great job in recruiting. Now they've got, 5 commitments for 2024. They've got some good players already lined up for down the road. So I think they have withstood this storm. And so, and one thing we do know is the NCAA is not going to give them a bowl ban. They do not do that anymore. So when you're recruiting players, they don't have to worry about, you mean I don't get to go to bowl game? I may not get to the Orange Bowl, or I may not get to this bowl or that bowl. That's no longer in play.
Good stuff there. I guess lastly, since we're talking about, show cause, what was the issue with Fratello, I guess, with the baseball program and his getting suspension there for, 3 games or so?
Yeah, there were 2 things at work. Number one, Tennessee brought in a visitor from Kansas, the shortstop, Maui Ahuna, and they didn't have his transcript when he came on the visit. So that was one of the violations that was made public. The other one that has been reported by some entities, and I believe it to be true, is that Ahuna had not officially entered the transfer portal, although he thought he had when he came on his visit. And so that's considered, quote, tampering. So that's what got Tennessee in trouble. I think Ahuna had difficulty in understanding what you had to do to get in the portal and thought he was in it and he wasn't. So that's where Tennessee got in some trouble. So that's what's at work, and that's why Vitello agreed to take a 3-game suspension.
But to add to that, though, that's not Tennessee's fault. That's the player's fault on his own clarity.
The argument is it's both of them's fault.
Oh.
Tennessee should have known, and the players should have known. Now, here's what the NCAA does, and this is my experience, and they'll say I'm crazy, but this is what I believe. If the NCAA wants to suspend you and it ends up being like 6 games or whatever, they just don't make a decision until after 6 games, and they say, okay, now you're cleared. So you've, in essence, served a 6-game suspension or whatever. If in football, sometimes they wait 2 games into the season, then they say, okay, now you're cleared. So that's what they do. They did that with Byron Young, the defensive end for Tennessee, a few years back. So that's the way they handle it. Instead of saying you're suspended for 2 games, they just wait 2 games and then say, okay, here's our ruling, you've been cleared. So, in effect, you had to sit 2 games. That's what they do, I'm telling you.
Wow.
That's my belief. So, anyhow, I don't think that's the best way to handle it, but that's what the NCAA does.
Jimmy, always good stuff, man. Thanks for taking the time today. At JimmyHyams on Twitter and Sports Talk WNML. We'll have you on again. We're going to squeeze as much out of you as we can before you decide to leave our ranks in the sports broadcasting world, Jimmy.
And then we'll have you on every week.
Pleasure. Having me.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right,
Take care.
The great JimmyHyams. Lots to talk about Ryan Tannehill yesterday, and there's an NFL reporter. What is his take on the Titans quarterback situation for 2023? Everybody kind of read different things based on what they heard about Tannehill yesterday from Vrabel and Carthon, and we can get into all that, but interesting take from really a couple of NFL reporters. We can get into that next.
Varthon.
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. So lots of talk about Ryan Tannehill yesterday. Rain Carthon talked about him, and people are trying to make heads or tails out of the things that the Titans general manager said. He is under contract to us right now, and he is a Titan, and he will be a Titan, part of what was said. But what's interesting is a couple of different things that kind of came out of this. Ian Rappaport was doing a hit on the NFL Network with Mike Garafolo and, I can't think of the other guy's name, longtime host there. But Rappaport was doing all the talking. His thing essentially was the best option at quarterback, it's not even close to the Titans, it's Ryan Tannehill. Mm-hmm. And he spoke at length. You can find it out there. It's actually on Rap Sheet's Twitter. His thing was, look, they both know that they need money. They need money to do other things. He makes the most sense. It's not like you have his cap hit, then you could go add another cap hit. It makes most sense that he's the Titans quarterback, and they sit down in a room and go, okay, let's figure the money thing out. Let's figure out a way to make this thing work for both sides monetarily. And then the other thing was Blaine Field Yates, who's also an NFL reporter on the ESPN side, was projecting like every team's quarterback starter for 2023, and this just came out, and Ryan Tannehill. No crazy guess, it's Ryan Tannehill, he says.
Yeah, well, I mean, theoretically, the Titans are getting him for a bargain for a starting quarterback in the National Football League. His base salary is $27 million, and his cap hit is $36 million. Am I right on that?
Yep, about that for both.
So if you're going to stick with Tannehill, and this is the Titans, and this is going to sound crazy, as I said this before, he probably deserves an extension. Now, extension means dummy years, and that way you increase his salary or give him money in his pocket. Because $27 million is a starting quarterback, man, in this league. And you could say what you want to say about Tannehill. He's, middle of the road or a little below that if you want to give him that. At 20 best starting quarterback in the National Football League or somewhere thereabout is, the going rate now is at the bottom end of that. I probably would say is about 30, 35, So, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Or they can hold pat. At the end of the day, I think this is the last go-round for him for this season. And I understand I want to blow everything up. That's me. But I get where if I'm in the coaching shoe and the head coach, man, now this is on my resume, and that can get me up out of here on a young team. So I would have to have some concessions with the organization that's not going to happen. Because I believe what this team, regardless of what they put together, let's see what it looks like. But right now, off the cuff, I'm going to say they're 10-17. That's what I'm thinking, 9-8, somewhere around there. Because it's going to take a minute to get everything flowing. When he said we could pop Vrabel, not Barthon, but Vrabel.
Just one.
Vrabel said we possibly could have 5 new offensive linemen. I looked around and was like, did we just? So anybody who says they are not rebuilding, and you can quantify it and say, oh, we're just rebuilding the offensive line. Well, what the heck do you think this team is built on?
Right.
That. So you're rebuilding, bro. So when he says that, and by the way, I've always said this about offensive linemen. It takes a minute to gel. That's why I don't like all this moving around and case study and all that. Oh, let's make sure he can play. No, you do that with the backups. The starters, let's let them work together. Let's see them work so they can start getting a feel for it. And sometimes it's telepathy. You just look at each other and they got to get to that. Dude, and it takes a minute to get to that. So, man, I don't know if the running game going to be where it needs to be when you start, unless you got all 5 of the pieces there working together all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm just talking about in OTAs and, training camp. And sometimes it takes more than that to me, but you hope it can. Especially when the running game is a big part of it. Now, I'm sure they're going to still run the football. It's going to be a different version of what Vrabel likes to do. Not Tim Kelly. It's going to be a version of what Vrabel likes to do. And Tim Kelly going to put his spin and twist on it. So we shall see. So, they're rebuilding. It's just they haven't got rid of the quarterback because there's a possibility that they could go get a quarterback at 11. I still believe that there is a possibility because you don't know what someone may offer you to move up or move back. Or do you take one in the second or third round and kind of slowly start the process? Even though you have other needs, we have to first see where they're at after free agency. So let's see. Maybe they get a tackle. Maybe they also get a guard. Maybe they get a pass rusher. Maybe they get a corner. We don't know what they'll get. So, maybe they sign David Long back. Then all of a sudden you go, okay, all we got to do is get here, or maybe you trade for a wide receiver who still has 3 or 4 years of good years left, and maybe even more. T. Higgins. And I know the GM there for the Bengals said that's crazy.
Nobody's
Crazy
shopping with
talk.
us for receivers.
Yeah. And guess what I think when you say that? That means you're shopping.
Right.
Yeah. So as much as I wanted to believe him, because I felt like he was being honest, usually when you say like I don't know, if somebody offered you the right thing, you may move up and get you a stud offensive lineman. Because they kind of at the bottom now. The Bengals been successful here these last couple of years, as we know, since Burrow been there. So I've never thought they were going to get rid of Tannehill, but if an opportunity presents itself to move up in this draft, this is first go around with Rand, who is the magician as far as when it comes to moving up and down. That's his job. Let's see what happens and who may be available when the draft comes. So I don't really know did he commit to him or not. I think he left the window open to say he's under contract and we want him here and he is the starting quarterback here as the Titans. But that doesn't mean that if he finds some better or a new option that's young, because ultimately this is the bottom line for me. 3 years until the stadium opens, this team better be rocking and rolling, and those guys better have some experience. You better not wait until, 2 years from now and try to go get a quarterback. No. Tannehill won't even be on the team. Neither will the King. Byard won't be on the team. No, we better be ready to go. No different. I'm not telling you nothing that's new. Then we went into the new stadium here.
Yeah.
And that thing was lit. Boy. And so you better start that process now.
Don't
wait 2 or 3 years later like the Predators doing.
Well, that's absolutely a discussion, too. Their timing of that, although they continue to blow this thing up. Matthias Ekholm, the latest to be traded for a bunch of assets.
And they probably should have done it, but they kept thinking, we're going to be middle of the road, but we're going to get past. We're better than middle of the road. Nope, yes, what you are. You're going to be a one-and-doneer in the playoffs.
What did the new Titans OC, Tim Kelly, say yesterday that had people nuts? And they're still crazy about it today. You will hear it next.
I got nuts.
What's going on from the Superbook.com sports desk? I'm Robert Walsh. The NFL scouting combine began yesterday in Indianapolis. The Titans general manager Ran Carthon, head coach Mike Vrabel, and offensive coordinator Tim Kelly all spoke to the media. If you've missed Ran Carthon or Mike Vrabel on the Buck Rising show, you can check it out on 104.5 The Zone's YouTube page. But Ran was in a mood. He let the 31 other teams in the NFL know that the Titans were open for business. Our combine coverage continues throughout the week with the Buck Rising Show, thanks to Scoreboard Bar and Grill, Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply, and John Roberts Nissan. An arrest warrant has been issued for Georgia defensive tackle and potential number 1 pick Jalen Carter for reckless driving and racing. That stems from a January 15th crash that took the life of a teammate and a staffer. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. We will get to Titans news, but we do have breaking news out of Knoxville. Robert?
What?
Do you want to hit the breaking news sounder? Because
If not, I got you.
You ready? The BBB has the Blaine Bishop breaking news sounder. When we started the show, I consulted the show physician, Blaine Bishop, by the way, director of content. Our NFL expert, our groin expert, because of his extensive knowledge of his own groin and others.
And knees and ankles and
you name it.
And shoulder and forearms. And
torn ACLs.
No, I didn't tear my ACL or Achilles. But I am an expert at it.
You recognized one.
And I called that he tore his ACL. Is that true?
Breaking news from the University of Tennessee. Point guard Zakai Ziegler suffered a torn ACL in his left knee during Tuesday night's win over Arkansas. The injury ends the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year semifinalists season.
Dang. Who reported that?
The University of Tennessee themselves.
Tennessee.
Yeah, they put it out. The Tennessee basketball family joins all of Vol Nation lifting up Zakai with love and support. We know beyond all doubt that Zakai will use this challenge to author an inspiring comeback story. He'll have our boundless backing every step of the way. I cannot tell you how much I hate to see this for anybody.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I was scared, but I was pretty sure his body language leaving the court really solidified it to me. I said, ooh, I think he did, and I'm hoping not. And then, yep, he did. That happened on the football field. Whenever, that happens, you know your knee tweaks inside. Cack. You have done something pretty major. He's hoping it's like he sprained his MCL.
Yeah.
But I didn't think so. Yeah, I didn't. It was pretty clear for me.
It's funny. You watch a lot of basketball, and we were talking about this earlier, and guys do things to their ankles, and he was hopping along the baseline, trying not to go out of bounds. And sometimes you'll see a guy, and you'll twist your ankle. You know, you'll land on the side of your foot. You see stuff like that a lot in basketball. But I remember watching Ziegler's injury last night. I kind of felt like it took me back to, for instance, Kyler Murray, who's one of the more recent guys that did it in football. As soon as he did it,
you knew.
You said, oh gosh, he just tore his ACL.
Yeah.
You're going to see what it looks like. And like you said, you think, man, so what's
seen too many of them. I've seen guys run off the football field. Yeah, my partner in crime, Mark Robb. He said this before we got here. People have no idea how good Mark Robb was before that. Ooh, he was. Boy, I was a youngster.
You told me he could cover a lot of ground.
Oh, yeah. He used to say, in the post, I got sideline to sideline. And he had sideline to sideline. I mean, he was getting picks every game. I was like, whoa. Tore that ACL, came back the next year, tore the patella tendon on the other knee. Still was really good, but he wasn't like that all-pro dude. Like, Like, he was, he about to be on that track of the Hall of Fame, man. If he would have kept that up about 3 more years like that, I'm like, dang, this dude making plays every game. I got to step my game up. Yeah. So it can affect you. And he still was really good after that, but he could never really recapture the way he dominated games and making plays. every game. Yeah. So every time I see Byard, making an interception, I always kind of start, oh, dang, there you go. And then he's kept healthy. He's never, and so then it just continues on and on and on. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. Man, dang. Zig, man, wow. So now they have to move forward. And, we had JimmyHyams on, and he really felt like, they had a nice little energy after that game, but it's going to affect him once the SEC and the NCAA tournament really. And he said it'll affect him in, his last, games here coming up, in particular Auburn.
They got to go to Auburn, which will be hard. There was a rock fight when they beat Auburn at home.
Yep.
It was, 49
Pearl
to 46.
got lit in that game, too. He got, about some calls at the end there.
Lack of call at the end.
Oh, no, yeah, the three-point shot.
The lack of call at the end where there was some contact, but there was no call. People who say, okay, swallow the whistle at the end. Well, the whistle got swallowed, and Pearl was hot about that. But we were trying to figure this out earlier. I was thinking, okay, what's the hole in this deal schedule-wise, because they have a 2-game lead over 2 teams. One of them is Missouri for the 4th seed, and Hines cleared it up. He said, well, Missouri's got 2 games left. Tennessee only has 1.
So if they tie, Missouri
gets the tiebreaker.
Dang.
So it's like, dang, man, you need to go to Auburn and win. You got to do it without Zakai Ziegler.
An adjusting, tough atmosphere. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to be all in on that game for sure. I'm going to work my schedule around that.
Yeah, that's coming up on Saturday. Of course, that game will be on the zone like they all are. I'm trying to see real quick who Missouri has got left. Missouri plays tonight. I know that. Missouri has – sorry, this is good radio. Me just reading it. They have to go to LSU tonight. That's tonight at 8 o'clock on SEC Network. I know you're not a super late stay-upper, but that one may have your attention.
I'll at least get the first half.
Missouri and LSU. But, I mean, Mizzou's 21-8, man. That's a good team.
Man, they can shoot the lights out, too.
They host boy, if you're a Tennessee fan.
Who they host?
They host Ole Miss in the final game of the year. Just fired Kermit. And by the way, I hate hearing that for Kermit. Ole Miss, they got Ole Miss at home at 2:30. So 8 o'clock tonight, Missouri at LSU. If you're a Tennessee fan, you probably should be intently watching this.
That'd be a nightmare if they don't get the double bye. That'd be a little disappointing for me. Oh, man.
Double bye gives you a couple more days to kind of work out your situation, practice through it.
But watch this. I can still spin it positively. Well, at least we got to play, and we'll be making adjustments on the fly, in game, on how we're going to deal with this so we get ready for the NCAA tournament.
Okay, I'll ask you this because it's a different
situation. Practice is practice, but game is different. Game.
This is different because they don't have to win the SEC tournament to go on. They don't have to win it. They can be one and done and just start packing their bags. In football, I know you're not always crazy about the bye week. Do you like the double bye in basketball, though, just because ultimately, again, they don't have to go and win anything for their next destination? Do you like the you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's
No. I do not like the double bye.
Okay.
I do like a bye, not the double bye.
Okay.
Basketball is different. It's about rhythm. Staying in rhythm, especially if you got some good stuff going on now. If you have lost a couple in a row, maybe having a double bye may help you get everything together, like them dealing with an injured player, their elite starting point guard. So maybe that could help them out to kind of reshuffle and figure out what they need to do, especially after this last game here. So it just depends on what situation you're on. But basketball is all about, that's why they play so many games weekly. It's because it's about rhythm and flow, and you keep thinking every other game they could play, every other day. I mean, so, yeah, I don't know. This situation here, I would assume double bye helps them. Yeah, I would say so. Well, with the injury to Ziegler.
Tennessee fans, you need Mizzou to do that. LSU, rather, to do that work against Mizzou tonight. All right, we will get to the Tim Kelly audio. I promise we'll play that in the last segment of the show. But let's get our guy, and we can ask about the situation next. JordanDajani, CBS Sports, NFL coverage, big guest for us every week, and it is time for him next on Blaine and Mickey.
Have you ever noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not? People are really tired of that stuff. And if you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shop, come on over to Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable. And Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready so you don't have to stand around waiting all freaking day. And Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. That's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. And why would you want to pay for that? Well, at Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead as loaner cars are very, very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that would be Eurofix, family owned for 24 years. And if you want the best and reliable, then just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine said y'all.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5, The Zone, hanging out on a Wednesday. Hour number 2 of the Wednesday show. So we're like running downhill for the rest of the week. So why don't we spend part of this running downhill time with our man JordanDajani,
our favorite guy,
CBS Sports. JD, it's Combine Week, man. You ready to talk about hand sizes and stuff?
My friends, what's going on? It is Combine Week. And funny enough, this is kind of when I finally get to start my draft prep because we've been so busy with free agency, coming out with interesting columns on CBSSports.com. Now I'm kind of half ready to sit down and talk about some of these prospects and examine the Combine. And, man, the Combine is a lot of fun, right? We get to talk about hand sizes, like you said. We get to talk about 40 times, 3-cone drills, bench press, all that kind of stuff. But we need to be careful because I think a lot of people are prone to make mistakes by falling too much in love with some of these Combine numbers. But regardless, it's always fun to see these guys work out.
Think about this. When Levis and Richardson throw, what that's people are going to lose their minds like they've never seen tape of these guys. Levis and Richardson are going to take this combine and just flip it over and dump everything out on its head because both of those guys have cannons. And who knows what Richardson will even run, or Levis for that matter, because they're both super athletic. All the tape watching in the world, I mean, we're all SEC people. We saw what happened last year. None of that's going to matter when those guys work out.
Yeah, I got to say the quarterback position in particular is probably the big headline of the Combine, in my opinion, because after what was a lackluster class last offseason, we kind of get these intriguing signal callers here on the ground in Indy and get to see them throw the ball around and run the 40 like you mentioned. And, man, I think we could spend 3 hours talking about Anthony Richardson and how polarizing of a prospect he is. But let me say this. You hit the nail on the head. I think that Anthony Richardson has a potential to completely take over the Combine because when he's just out there in shorts throwing against air, I mean, he possesses speed. He can throw the ball a country mile. It feels like the Combine was built for Anthony Richardson. And we've already seen crazy line movement when it comes to his odds to be selected number 1 overall. So if we see another huge boost in his stock from what happens this week, then we're going to have a lot of interesting conversations to partake in over the next couple of weeks.
Well, JD, to add to that, assuming what you just said will happen, how do you think you would rank the quarterbacks, I guess, the top 4 or 5 guys, projecting what they will after this week is over?
Yeah, that's a great question because I guess you really do have to take subjectivity into it. I mean, my top 2 are Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. And to be honest with you guys, I think I'm kind of stuck with that. I'm gonna keep Bryce Young my QB1 and C.J. Stroud my QB2. Those are the 2 guys who I'm the most comfortable with. And then there are the other 2 wild cards. We already brought up Will Levis. He's a guy that I've told you guys I'm not exactly in love with. He definitely possesses a special kind of arm talent, but there's a lot of quarterbacks who have possessed a special kind of arm talent who haven't exactly panned out in the NFL because they've been lacking in other categories. So Will Levis is a name to keep an eye on this week. I don't know if I'd have him at number 3 or number 4. I think I'm going to put Anthony Richardson at number 3 because I'm with everybody. I'm in alignment with everyone in saying that this guy definitely has a special kind of potential. But I'm trying to hold my horses on saying that he's going to develop into the next Cam Newton. He's a very raw prospect. He's not polished. How many years will it take for him to reach that potential? And it's not a given that he will reach that potential either. So he's going to be a guy that's going to go very high, in my opinion. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to be that team that selects him in the top 5.
We always select JordanDajani in our top 5 for a segment every Wednesday in the 2 o'clock hour. Joins us now, CBS Sports. It's where he and his colleagues are doing fantastic work.
If one of those 4 guys, just projecting out, is available at 11, if you are the Titans, would you draft one of those guys? And I'm assuming that it's going to be Levis and Richardson. I think Bryce and C.J. Stroud may be gone, according to your ranking.
Yeah. I wish we could speculate on Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud reaching number 11. Unfortunately, that's definitely not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good question when it comes to Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, and that's really where you have to have faith in Rand Carthon because, again, these guys are total wild cards in my opinion, and I don't think it's a bad question to wonder if one of these guys falls. I think that's almost possible at this point in time. But, man, you're putting a lot of draft capital into that quarterback, and if that doesn't pan out, then you're kind of behind the 8 ball. I'll say this, though. I was on another radio show in Tennessee earlier this week, and they were talking about potentially trading up on the board or even trading up to the number 1 overall pick and going all in on one of these quarterbacks. I, of course, am against that, but I will say this. I'm kind of already falling in love with next year's quarterback class when it comes to Caleb Williams and Drake May. That may be the year where the Titans should go all in after the Ryan Tannehill era has ended and reach for a signal caller. But to answer your question, yes, I do think that the Titans are 100% going to kick the tires on taking someone like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson if they fall to 11. But at the same time, I'm not sure that's where I'm going to put my money.
Wow, man. JordanDajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports. So let's get to not the projected prospects. How about the NFL? Any big name trades you think may potentially happen with a player or two in the National Football League?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure when it comes to trading away capital. I know that there were some rumors surrounding Tennessee legend T. Higgins earlier in the offseason, but it sounded like those rumors were kind of unfounded. It was a good piece done by The Athletic talking about how maybe something like that could come to fruition if the Bengals decide to strike it rich with some of these historical extensions they're going to hand out to Joe Burrow and a couple of other players they're preparing for. I don't see T. Higgins being on the move. So I don't think I have a guy under contract right now that could potentially be traded, but I will say this. There are some under-the-radar guys who it's already been reported that they're going to end up being released by their teams because they're either in the final year of their deal or they could be cap savings. Guys that will be released I think it was March 15th is when the new league year kicks off. So guys like John Johnson was a player who I was kind of interested in. The Browns safety who came over from the Rams, he's going to end up being released. But I think the Browns have their phone lines ready to be answered if someone calls when it comes to striking a trade with them. So there are some under-the-radar players who are going to end up being released that teams can kick the tires on if they choose to do so.
What do you think about Derek Carr and down at the Combine and visiting? I think he's visiting with the Jets and probably some other teams as well. Just I haven't seen that in a while where a current NFL player of his stature is visiting with teams at the Combine. So how do you take that? Like, do you think there's not a lot of teams coming after him or not at the right salary? Him being at the Combine is kind of interesting to me. What's your view on that?
You know, it's kind of weird, right? I don't remember this ever happening but I love that Derek Carr is kind of taking it upon himself and his representation taking it upon themselves to be the storyline of the offseason, right? Move over Aaron Rodgers, move over Tom Brady retiring. I'm holding my little press circle here and doing my interviews to see where my potential landing spot's going to be. And Derek Carr has done a good job of that. Now, when it comes to interest around him for the league, I would say that there's plenty of interest when it comes to teams like the New York Jets, when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, and even with the Carolina Panthers, who have reportedly or they're about to complete an in-person interview with him. I think that he's doing all he can to be open when it comes to his quote-unquote recruiting from teams that are interested with him. And he's trying to do his due diligence when it comes to not only what kind of financial resources can I rake in, but what's going to be the best potential landing spot for me as well. That's what I take away from it. I think it's weird, but at the same time, I think that it may be kind of a power move by him, just in terms of him doing his homework with where is the best place that I'm going to go, because it's going to be a very important decision for him and really how we view his career when it's all said and done.
One more question about quarterbacks, and that's Carson Wentz was released naturally. Is he now a backup in the league and maybe not get an opportunity until, coming in as a backup and then, maybe get a shot if someone gets injured and kind of rekindle his career? Where do you think Carson Wentz is at in his career?
Man, it grinds my gears that Ron Rivera was the only person who follows the NFL that thought the Carson Wentz trade last offseason was going to work out. It surprises no one that he was released earlier this week. And let me say this. I think that he is going to be a backup quarterback. And I think he's somewhat of an intriguing backup quarterback, depending on what his price may be. But no, if I'm a team looking for a starting signal caller, and there are plenty of them out there, Carson Wentz is not going to be a name near the top of my list at this point. I think that he and I think that Marcus Mariota as well are going to be quarterbacks that are going to serve as backups in 2023.
JordanDajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
What did you make of? We're trying to come up with a name for Carthon and Vrabel together. So we're at Crable or Varthon maybe, just so we can just instead of mentioning each of their names. But anyway, Carthon and Vrabel specifically and singularly spoke yesterday along with Tim Kelly. Anything that they said, anything stand out to you or anything they didn't say along the way?
So Vraython, Vrabel, those could be a couple of different things.
We're open to anything here, yes.
I love it. I love it. Yeah,
They're collaborating, so we got to collab their names.
He did have an interesting comment on Ryan Tannehill, which I'm sure you guys have been discussing on your show over the past few hours. He said something like Tannehill is under contract, and I'm excited about moving forward with him and have a ton of respect for him. So that whole statement about him being under contract is something that Vrabel and Rand Carthon have said before, but I think this is a statement that shows that it's a statement that we've heard over the past few weeks that show that Tannehill has maybe more stability in-house than we thought he did, because it's fun to speculate if he was going to be released, if he was going to be extended, if he was going to play out his contract. So this statement itself tells us what us three have all been thinking, in that Ryan Tannehill will indeed be the quarterback in 2023. But it's kind of funny because the way that it was said, like, it wasn't the most glowing statement about Ryan Tannehill. It doesn't sound like they are absolutely thrilled about moving forward with him. But I do think that it's the smart play, and that's something we've been talking about all off season. So it's good to have some kind of clarity. I won't say closure, but I will say clarity when it comes to where Ryan Tannehill stands with the Titans. As I've said all offseason, they are going to do their homework when it comes to this quarterback market, when it comes to the draft. But ultimately, I do believe it's going to be Ryan Tannehill under center in 2023.
Tim Kelly said the offense wasn't predictable last year. Did you align with that statement, or was this just a guy who thought, well, I can't think of a creative way to say this, so I'll just say, no, we were not predictable at all?
Predictable. That's a funny word. I mean, any team that was on the defensive side of the ball that was game planning for the Titans, the number one objective was always the same, and that's taking away Derrick Henry and making Ryan Tannehill throw the ball. And sometimes our offensive coaching staff did the work for them because they weren't effective when it came to drawing up passing plays or putting Ryan Tannehill in a lot of positions to succeed. So predictable is an interesting word to toss around, but I'll just say that the offense was not good. I don't care if it was predictable or not. It was not good. So I hope that Kelly, he obviously has his work cut out for him when it comes to trying to implement new schemes and new ideas for what this offense is going to look like. I'd rather hear more quotes about that when it comes to what's going to be different about this offense, because something absolutely has to change if the Titans want to get back on top of the division.
Hanging out with JordanDajani, CBS Sports, at JordanDajani on Twitter. You can follow him there.
Well, JD, man, the darkness retreat is over. Where does that leave Aaron freaking MVP Rodgers at? Is he going to still be back at Green Bay? Is that what this is all about, or are they just sick of him and they're done?
So I'm glad you brought this up, because I actually have a hot take concerning Aaron Rodgers. I think it's the media making this whole situation more dramatic than it actually is. The Packers haven't changed their mind on Rodgers. Their brass has repeated the same lines about his future and what they want to do moving forward every time they are asked. I mean, they would love for Rodgers to return, but at the same time, they do feel confident, probably more than ever, in Jordan Love if this is indeed it. If Aaron Rodgers is moving on to another team or retiring, they're going to go ahead and move forward with Jordan Love. I mean, we've seen very dramatic reports from both ends of the spectrum, right? We've seen reports coming from people saying that the Packers are absolutely done with Aaron Rodgers. They are ready to move on. And we've seen other reports saying that, yeah, it looks like Rodgers is heading back to Green Bay, which is something that I've been telling you guys all along. That's what I believe in my heart of hearts. So what Aaron Rodgers said is that a decision is coming sooner rather than later. That's something he's been saying for months now. I don't think he said too much of note in that new podcast that dropped today. I don't know. I listened to 10 minutes and said to myself, podcasts about meditating in darkness are not exactly up my alley, so I went ahead and turned on 104.5 The Zone instead. I think a decision is going to come soon, but again, I do think that Aaron Rodgers is returning to Green Bay, and maybe this story isn't as dramatic as the media has been making it sound.
JordanDajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports. I guess the NFL committee is kind of reviewing a few things, and one of them, I guess two different things, is roughing the passer as well as the quarterback sneak being pushed by the other players. What are your thoughts on Should they be legal or not, or reviewable or not? And do you think they will pass or not?
So for roughing the passer being reviewable, I think it would be an absolute disaster. I think it would be a total mistake to do this. And the reason why is because remember that 1 year, a couple of years ago, where we made pass interference reviewable and we thought it would solve all these problems? Well, it didn't, because slowing down the play in question always makes it look like what is the textbook definition of pass interference, even if at full speed it didn't exactly meet that criteria. And then at the same time, the NFL showed an unwillingness to go back on its original rule. I think that's something that the officials were instructed to do, was to lean towards your original rule. So we didn't see a lot of overturned calls in that regard. Now, if we apply those same review policies to roughing the passer, it's going to be the same kind of mess where everything slowed down is going to look like a penalty. And the NFL is, once again, in my mind, if I had to speculate, is going to be unwilling to go against itself. So basically, all we're talking about is slowing down the game to look at calls that really aren't going to change more often than not. So I'm not in favor of that. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to pass or not. I'm going to lean towards no, because I think it would be a mistake. Now, as for the quarterback sneaks that the Eagles have become so famous with, I got to say it, I would be in favor of making that illegal. And I know that's kind of a hot take, and people call me a hater and all this stuff, saying that the Eagles are just so good at it, we can't stop it. It's more of a rugby play. I don't think that we should be able to line up 13 guys behind center and all of a sudden throw his quarterback across the line of scrimmage. That's not football. I'm pretty sure that's borderline illegal. So the Eagles, credit to them, right? They kind of found a roundabout way to make these quarterback sneaks so effective. But that'd be something I would be cool with taking away from the game, because it quickly turns into rugby, and it's going to be hard to stop those quarterbacks on 4th and inches.
Great analogy there with the rugby. I definitely agree with that on both of them, actually, there with your review on, roughing the passer. I guess lastly for me, we must talk about the horrific incident there with Jalen Carter and the news coming out. And let's just stick to, how do you think this impacts him? I know you're not a lawyer and everything else, but how do you think this impacts him and his maybe even his draft status with this, news breaking out today?
Yeah, obviously this is a big deal. I mean, not one of our CBS Sports experts had Carter falling further than number 4 overall. So he could be, or maybe I should say could have been, the first defensive player off the board. That's kind of hard to envision happening as of now. And I mean, he's a hell of a player. If we're making a big board, he's going to be one of those top 3 guys. There's no doubt about it. And we all saw how impactful he was with the Bulldogs. I think he had 15.5 tackles for loss over the past 2 seasons, led one of the best defenses in college football in that category. He was going to complete interviews and his physical in Indianapolis at the Combine, but was not going to work out. And instead, of course, all that's really been put on hold. So, the investigation, and I believe the findings came from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. They claimed that Carter misled prosecutors about the accident, first claiming that he was a mile away from the accident before later acknowledging that he was alongside the car that crashed. And I will say that, the statement or the response that he put out was a very strong response. And it's something that maybe surprised me a little bit, because if this investigation is correct in its findings, then obviously he didn't exactly do the right thing in that situation. So overall, I mean, he's still going to be a first-round pick, I would imagine, in my mind. Like you said, I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that he'll probably fall a few spots because of this thing that happened. And again, the whole situation is obviously a tragedy. It's something that shouldn't have happened, and it's even more tragic for him personally that obviously this entire thing came out during the week of the NFL Combine, which is pretty terrible timing for him. So this will be a situation we all have our eyes on. It's unfortunately going to be a headline for the NFL Combine this week, but we all know the kind of talent he possesses, and now it really comes down to what kind of player is he off the field, and the NFL teams will certainly do their due diligence when it comes to that.
We know you always do your due diligence, Jordan. Thanks for the time today, buddy. People need to be checking you out at JordanDajani on Twitter. Of course, CBSSports.com with all the latest from the NFL from you and your colleagues. Thank you, sir. We'll talk next week.
PJ, JD.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. We'll have plenty of combine performances to evaluate next week with Jordan. All right, when we come back, we will play the Tim Kelly audio. He spoke in Indianapolis yesterday. He talked about the Titans offense. People are mad about what he said. Many of them. We'll let you hear it next. Blaine Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. So Tim Kelly is the Titans' new offensive coordinator. He was among the numbers of people who spoke yesterday. And, of course, people wanted to ask him about the Titans' offense. And our man Robert Walsh, who's doing a fine job filling in for Lucas, while Lucas is eating shrimp cocktail and hanging out with Buck in Indianapolis. I saw the picture of the shrimp cocktail Buck put out that they were going to eat.
Oh, did
he? Tim Kelly asked about the offense being predictable. Is the Titans' offense predictable? This is what the new OC said.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I didn't think we were predictable last year. I think there are some times where, certain games, certain things, weather, people you have available, things along those lines. There are a lot of elements that go into predictability or perceived predictability. So I wouldn't say that we were predictable last year.
Mike seemed to think you were predictable. Mike, in hiring you, one of the things he said he wanted was to be able to go into the same formations out of different personnel, to be less predictable, not signal coming in personnel.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we want to do as an offense is we want to be versatile. So whether it ends up being multiple personnel groupings, multiple formations, playing in multiple tempos, just doing things to try to keep people off balance. So, that's what we're going to look to do moving forward. We want to put our guys in the best position possible.
You ran an awful lot on first down as well. You think there was some predictability there?
I didn't, but, again, like I said, there are a lot of things that go into calling a game. And so, last year was last year, but moving forward, I can tell you what we're going to do and what we're going to try to do and how we're going to build this offense.
Part of it's weather, Blaine. Part of it is the people you have available. Well, by the end of the year, they'd have a lot of people available, man. They did. But is this a guy who's just trying not to throw somebody under the bus? Because they sure did say. You've spoken at length about watching the Bengals NFL films after the playoff game where they're like, yeah, I knew I was going to pick that off because I knew this is exactly what they were going to do.
Uh-huh.
And the Bengals thought they were predictable.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. And even A.J. Brown said they were predictable, being that it was a simple offense. So, some of the things he said there were absolutely true. Whether – I'm not going to use the weather because that doesn't matter to me, but it does matter in personnel being available. Mm-hmm. So that somewhat hamstrung them at times, especially towards the end of the season. But at the end of the day, you say, what is his motive for not saying that it was predictable? Because they were predictable. And so you say, you think he's trying to protect Downey? I don't think so. I don't think he's trying to protect Downey. Why would he? Downey's no longer here.
Trying to protect the guy at the top.
Or was he trying to protect that, this is what we do, so I can't throw that person under the bus? Why? As I said during the season, Vrabel cosigns on everything that's going on. Belichickian way. Doesn't nothing go through without me saying A-OK. So Downing had the title, and he was calling the plays, but rest assured, Vrabel's on that headset like, nah, bro, don't run that, run this. So he's trying to protect Vrabel because he know Vrabel was in them headsets. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he would call them plays sometimes. So I don't know which ones, but he has to co-sign on all of them. He's the head coach. And Vrabel seems like the type that he don't let you just say, all right, run the offense. And every now and then I dip in there. Nah, that ain't even his style. So I think that's what he was trying to do. Make sure he doesn't that he protects his new boss because he was part of, calling those plays to some extent on offense. So, yeah, they need to broaden their horizons on the offense. And based off what I saw at Kelly, there's 2 years that he was calling plays. Actually, I was a little impressed. Let's say he had Watson, which is easy to do with a great player like that. But then he even came back and Mills improved throughout the season, became a better passer. And like how he spread people out and moved things around. So I think he's a little more deceptive and a better play caller in setting up plays on offense than Downey.
Yeah.
I think that's where Downing would kind of, I think those are the things that would really perturb me a little bit is you saw no setup. And then, he could say, yeah, they had good first halves, and then they could never come back in the second half. Well, what you did in the first half should set up for the counter play to the second half.
Right.
It just never worked that way. And I'm more talking about the passing game. That doesn't mean the running game can't help be part of that. So I think he'll do a better job at that. But ultimately, the same guy is going to be on the headsets. So we're going to see if that tweaks him too as well. When I say tweaks, that means he starts running some of the similar things that Downing Vrabel did. Because ultimately that's your boss and you do what your boss tells you to do in coaching. Even if you believe that don't work, you got to learn how to say, okay, and do what your boss says.
So you get a first down, you hear in the headset, run it.
Yep. And he said, dun, 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 he run it. Dun, 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 he run it. Yep. He said, dang, was that the PA announcer or is that Vrabel? Yeah, because they was running it. So we'll see. I'm trying to be positive, and hopefully with the change that it'll be a little bit different. But how much different, I don't know. I'm hoping it will be. But we shall see.
Texans, Kelly was the OC for 3 years in Houston. They were 13 in Houston. They were 13 in yards and 14 in points in 2019. They were 13 in yards and 18th in points in 2020, and then everything fell apart in 2021. So that was just the
So that was Watson and
submarine
Mills.
went to the bottom.
It kind of stayed the same, but Mills naturally wasn't as talented. But yeah, so I thought they were middle of the road type, offense. So how many points did they average? Do you have that pulled up too as well?
I don't have the numbers. I just know where they were ranked.
Yeah, so that's not bad. I went back and watched some games. I actually was encouraged. And that one game, everybody can remember, they spread them out and they got behind, and then they just started running up and down the field the second half versus the Titans.
With Mills and Danny Amendola.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we all remember that.
And he was calling the plays. So, yeah, it looked solid.
All of our play calling is done for the day. It's time for us to get out of here. 3HL, they'll have you covered, though, the rest of this Wednesday afternoon. They'll get you home.
Yeah, but in the meantime.
In between time.
Peace.